All right, there will be a QR code at the end as well. It's the same one, so if you've already signed in, great. All right, let's move through this. October 29th is our College Focus Day. Is our College Focus Day. We're going to give you at a glance what is happening. Today is training. And then fast forward to the Tuesday we get back. On that day, we will give you the alpha list for you to share with kids. The alpha list, and it will say shareable. You can post it in your Google Classroom. It's the one I will send out 17,000 times to their scholars and their parents' scholars and everybody's email. And we'll begin sharing information that day. On that day, some point that day, your staff assignments will appear in the folder. All the things will be there. And 1 week from that day, we test. But then notice it says Wednesday, October 23rd, you're going to continue reminding kids where they're going to be, the importance of being present and on time. And then we will complete a Blue Book readiness check. We will do that on Tuesday the 22nd, Wednesday the 23rd, and then we'll do it again. It looks like I have a redundant day on there. We'll do it again. That should be the Monday the 28th. I messed the date up right there. So it's all about communication. If we don't communicate with kids, if we don't look and see where our staff assignment is, no one will be in place and the day is not going to go well. Everybody wants to go to 3A, so then follow the timeline that we set aside, and we'll be going to 3A then. Okay? People that take the test, 9th, 10th, and 11th, and there are some 12th graders taking the SAT that day, just a few, like less than 30. And then other seniors will be participating in college and career readiness activities. I don't know what that looks like. EIS and Jalen are taking care of that. Okay, so this again reminds you, you're going to post the links to the Alpha Classroom, an Alpha Room, what left this, whatever in Google Classroom, talk about it. Why PSAT? Allie continues to send something out every Tuesday. And so if you haven't found though why we need to take PSAT, it will be dropped there for you in an email. You can sit there and read it to your heart's content. It would probably be beneficial when we're sharing all this information that you take the time. If you've noticed your kids aren't responding to you in a message that you're sending in Skyward or their school email, they're not responding to others either. If you will remind them how to get there and the importance of checking that would be awesome. Okay, we are going to stay in room assignments until an announcement is made to go to regular schedule. The timeline, if everybody goes by the timeline, hear me again, if everybody goes by the timeline, we will have plenty of time to get to 3A. If something is out of our control, the network goes down. It happens. I think that's happened to us before. So just be flexible. Do not move until you're told to move. If you're in a testing room, your assistants are going to help communicate. Once everybody's through, we'll begin making announcements. Okay. All students have an assigned place to be and something to do. We've already talked about who's doing what. We're trying to keep testing in C, A, L, and some of M, hopefully just lower. It tells you right now, desks should be arranged in distinct rows, spaced out. And this right here, this little phrase is in the College Board manual and in their directions, 3 feet from head to head. That's a yard from midpoint to midpoint, in case y'all don't know. So either way, you should be good. That's still going to be tight in some rooms. And we needed to throw in distinct rows because sometimes we come in and people have them all face the same direction, but you have to go to get in between children, and you do have to actively monitor. So we need to make sure they're set up correctly. You also have to cover anything that would help or hinder a student on this test. And when you went through your training, it says stuff about covering maps and contents that can aid students. Okay, that's pretty much a no-brainer. All right, non-testing rooms, it's mostly seniors and engaged in college activities and some career activities. Links will be in the folder. Testers, too late to test. They're gonna get a bonus college focus day ahead of time, because once you start the timer, or once you start reading directions, once the directions start being read in a room, like they've done the readiness check, the kids have signed in, you're reading directions. You cannot let anyone else in that room. So the plan is, Mueller and Bianici have done this for several years, but Bianici is out on a district assignment that day. So our plan is, Mueller's gonna call the room that the kids assigned to. Have y'all started it? They're gonna say yes or no. He's gonna go, all right, I am sending these kids your way. And then somebody in the library staff or ROTC will escort them to you. Once we start getting, it's too late to test, we're gonna fill up those students. We start in ROTC, we've done this for years. These guys are old pros at it. And then we'll bleed over into the library. They'll change their attendance. They'll go on the attendance roster that has your room on it, and they will put arrived at da-da-da-da in ROTC. Plain as day. Sounds pretty simple. And then, do y'all see that big whoa up there? You may not see anything in here, but it does say our Google Sheet will have high traffic. If you've been here, you know. And please don't call and tell us it's broken. It's not. We have a huge staff. And when everybody gets on at one time, it says, not happening. So our goal is to do attendance at 10, as close to that as possible. So if you get on and can't top anybody, obviously you can't do it right then. Okay? Questions? I know those things sound really good, and we will look into them. I will say that. But it is, when you're managing people on a test day, we're just got to do the best that we can. But we will think that no one's ever suggested that, well, I'm not kicking around. So we'll look at a way to maybe manage that in a better way. Maybe upper L hall does this time, lower L hall does this time. That might be easier to manage, and assist can help guide, so maybe you don't get kicked off as much. And non-testing people will probably be the last ones on the list to do their attendance, because they're gonna have people arriving late anyway. Okay, but all you have to do, please don't get creative and think it's a fun, happy day to do that. Just highlight if they're here. You don't have to put highlight, here, present. Just highlight. And then if they're absent, type absent. Okay? If you are in a testing room, you do have to submit attendance in the toolkit and on that Google Sheet. Google Sheet is where those secretaries are going to take and mark attendance in Scotland. Please don't make anybody, our attendance ladies, don't make them call you to do your attendance. All right, non-testing rooms, we've talked about this. Mr. Lewis and EIS will be updating the agenda, and they'll be coming by to check on those senior rooms. Counselors are probably going to be assigned in those areas, hopefully to their rooms that have their alphabet. Preferably, that would probably be helpful. It's okay if they're in there and they're through with what's going on with their college focus day, they may be able to work on some work for your classroom. So if they know what's missing, it's beneficial, but I can't guarantee because I don't know what that agenda is. All right, here's our general timeline. This is the part where from the beginning, if we don't start right from the beginning, the wheels are going to come off somewhere. 7:45 to 8, you're going to check materials out from the general L109 area. There's a lot of buckets. It's a lot of people. So get here as early as you want. I will probably start checking out, I will say at 7:30, but it will probably be just me flying solo at that time and the sprinkling of people that want to get here that early. Okay? After you check out, you go to your room, you make sure to sign into your toolkit. Notice you do not have actual access to your toolkit right now because we're not supposed to enable it until like that morning, the night before. There's nothing you can do in there right now anyway. You don't even have kids assigned in there. And then it says, you'll be reading brief script from here, from that toolkit. You don't have a manual. If you were here last year and gave the test, and you had previously given it a book, you went, thank you, Lord, this is online. Because when we had a book, we would have to mark off pages and pages of things to not read. Now, you literally look at the screen, read what it says, do what it says, and then it times the kids itself. They're each on their own timer on their computer. It's amazing. But getting to that point, let me just go ahead and say, the College Board interface that we're all dealing with, whether it's training or confirmation, emails, or whatever, it's a nightmare. And we know it. Allie and I are experiencing it firsthand as well. All right, so this is all before your kids get there. You put their tickets on their desk. That bell's going to ring. And you're going to take an initial roll of kids, make sure they have Chromebooks, get them in places where their Chromebook's not going to die if they didn't charge it and they brought a charger. We're going to do the best we can. There's a whole process here. And then at 8:40, we're closing the doors and starting. We have to. We absolutely have to. That's when you do one more digital readiness check. It's in the toolkit. It tells you how to do it that day. And we start. And right here it says, continue to follow your MHS BSAT checklist. And I think Ms. Clements is going to click on that and talk through that.
You want to come zoom on it?
Yeah, sure. If you're new to our, if you're new to our campus and you haven't done testing before, basically what happens on the day of the test is you're going to get a checklist. So if you show up at 7:45 and you're like, what the heck do I do? This is going to tell you every single thing that you do. If you follow it and go through every step, then you know exactly what to do. Readers are leaders in this case, especially when you get onto Test Day Toolkit and you read the script. It probably looks way more overwhelming than it is, but it is a very simple program. Most of the people that have given the PSAT or SAT or even a digital AP exam last year, it all looks the same. It's super simple. The reason why Test Day Toolkit is one of the first things that you want to do when you get in your classroom is because that's the program that you monitor their tests and you admit them into the test. That's why we've been sending you so many super fun College Board emails to make sure you can get logged in, because if you can't, then we can't get your kids to take the test. So that's what all that's for. So you log in into Test Day Toolkit and you follow this checklist verbatim, and it tells you exactly what to do. It tells you exactly what time. But Test Day Toolkit has to be one of the first things, because if you're having issues that morning, then we need to troubleshoot really fast. So that way, by the time kids come to your room, we have a backup plan in place and we can get you logged in. But you'll get on there, you'll see your room, and then you'll start admitting, you'll basically go through the checklist and see all the important things to do. One of the first things that you're going to do is you're going to enter a room code. When you click on Test Day Toolkit, there's going to be a screen that pops up, and it's going to tell you a lot of the similar things that this checklist says. It'll say, make sure you take up student devices and their headphones. Make sure that everybody has a pencil for scratch paper. Make sure that you do this and do that. But then one of the very first things that you're also going to share is a room code. And you're going to write that on your whiteboard. And what that does is when a kid comes into your room and they enter that room code, that tells us that they're present and that they're taking that test. And we'll know if you did it right, because on our end, when we're in L109 that morning, we're seeing every single kid in the school check in, and we're seeing who did what, who did it when, and how it's progressing. So we'll be able to keep track of that. That's attendance there, but then you also do attendance for our school, for Skyward, on Valerie's Google Sheet. That's the main part when you check in. Obviously, I'm not going to read all of this, but that was the highlight of that for sure. The other thing is that you're also going to distribute scratch paper. There is an improvement in this. We only have to give them one sheet of scratch paper to make the heavens, because last year it was like 3 or something, and it was terrible. You only have to give them one, and they're going to write their name on it. If they end up wanting more, we can give them more, but we're only going to give them one to start out with. The other thing is, because this is a digital checklist, we can already anticipate that kids are going to come and their Chromebook's dead, their charger's not working, all that kind of stuff. If they do have a charger and you want to move them in your room to where they can plug in, that is acceptable. You can have a seating chart as much as you can and have them come and sit, but you can also move them. And so that way later on in the test, when they're already started, you can adjust your seating chart. If they don't have a charger and their Chromebook's super dead, that's when you'll talk to your hallway assist and we'll talk to our hallway assist and we'll see if there's any more Chromebooks that are available for checkout, and that will be the process there. Don't send a kid out and be like, go find a Chromebook. Please do not do that. You'll talk to your assist people and they'll help you out with that. That's the main thing. You want to add anything to the Chromebook part? Mm-hmm. Okay. The goal, like Valerie said, is to start by 8:40. So what's going to happen on that day of the test is if you've ever also proctored a STAR test, the kids will open their Chromebook, and instead of logging into the Chromebook, there's an app in the bottom left screen, the bottom left of the screen called Blue Book, and that's where they take their test. They all have it on their Chromebook right now. If they have a College Board account, they can log in right now and do a practice test, but we know a lot of them may not be doing that, but they log into that. And when they get there, there's two options. They can either, there's going to show them two options of how to log in, but they're only going to log in with a test ticket. So lots of our kids already have College Board accounts. They're not going to use College Board on this day. They just log in with the ticket that you give them, and then they'll begin to go through the steps. And one of the first ones is digital readiness. There's a yellow button. It'll tell you, make sure your device is working. It takes 2 seconds. They click it, it works, and then they log in and they start getting all the questions done. And one of the first things that happens when they log in is they will be prompted to answer a series of questions. And they're basic questions that you can't help with because it's like their name, their email, where they might want to go to college, things like that, okay? Let them just continue through those questions, and if they're optional and you can skip them, they can skip them. And the good thing is it's all going to be listed on the checklist, so you can tell them, oh, that says this is optional. If you don't know it or you want to skip it, skip it. If it's required, it'll tell you that on here as well. And then you just keep following the checklist. It tells you how to monitor. It tells you what to look for. And the biggest thing I would probably emphasize is once they start taking the test, you're going to go through, I'll show you this too. If you want to know, Allie, what does this look like on test day? I just want to know what the screen looks like. We have these checklists available. So if you're one of those people where you like to see it, when you leave today, you can come pick up this checklist, and there are screenshots of every single step that it will look like. So when you're in Test Day Toolkit, you can click and it'll tell you what it says here. It'll say count your seats, check your spacing, give them a piece of scratch paper, do this, do that, and you'll just follow that exactly. And so if you're one of those people that likes to know in advance what you're doing, it tells you right here. But one of the things that will say whenever you're in that process is you gave them the room code at first to get them into the test, but once all the kids have gone through all those optional questions, then at the very end, there's one more code you have to give them, and that's the start code so that they can start the test. You do not give them that until the script tells you. It will tell you exactly when to give them that. And then once they start the test, you can just monitor. It'll send them through the first section of English questions, and when the timer runs out, their computer will automatically go to a black screen. It'll put them in a 10-minute break, and then when that timer runs out, it'll automatically pop up with a yellow button. They click it, and they automatically go into math, and you just watch them and observe. And then at the end, as long as the internet is good, it will automatically submit. All you do is walk and pay attention and make sure that they're not cheating. So I think that's most of it. Do you want to add anything else to that, Valerie? Go ahead.
I think a big thing is when they're doing the questions, if you're going to have somebody that is going to agonize over something that is optional, we need to encourage them along, because if all 24 other individuals are in the room ready to move on, we need to help them along. Okay? Help them along. All right, so we talked about the digital readiness check. This slide reiterates this is what we're going to do. We took the instructions that are also in the checklist and made them in your slideshow. We put them multiple places where you can review them and be familiar with them before that time. Exam setup, again, these are the same pre-admin questions that are in the checklist. So if you didn't want to take it with you, it's right here. We've also dumped the checklist in the folder that you can find in our Google Classroom under the testing page. There's a College Focus Day folder, and you'll be able to access everything there. We talked about when staff assignments will be shared. Here's some of the possible staff assignments that will be given. I don't accept bribes. We do the best we can. We're all in it together, all those things. I do not accept bribes. I do not. Okay, so the reminders. If you have questions, ask. I can't make things better. Allie can't improve something. We don't know there's a problem unless you tell us. And some things we can't fix, but I will still listen and I will do the best I can. I mean, even in here, we have some great thought on let's phase in or give a time of who's gonna take attendance when. We've never thought of that, but we didn't ask either. And so now we know it's a problem, so let's figure out how to fix it. All right, remember, this should be considered a blackout day. This has been on every form of communication since we did a testing SOP at the beginning of the school year. The link to the alpha list and your assignments will be in the folder on October 22nd. Of course, we'll email it to you. Everything will be in this College Focus Day folder. And that folder is in the Google Classroom for our staff under the testing page. If you have an emergency that comes up, that is my cell phone number. If you do not have it saved, please make sure you do that. If you have a family emergency of any kind or something just happened, we do not want tragedy to strike, but things do happen, and I should be the least of your worries. But if you could consider me and just let me know so that we can figure out what's going on up here, and you take care of what is most important. Because it's important for us on that day, but in the big scheme of things, your family and things like that always should come first. Okay, so just remember to be flexible. We're all human. I promise you, the frustration you feel with College Board pales in comparison to the fact that I know when I'm eligible for retirement, and I could circle that on the calendar every time I have to go with College Board. Just say it. It is a mess. For instance, Monica, I had Monica, when she did hers, I told her to tell me, when yours is complete, tell me. I'm going to keep the email, and I'm going to tell you that was more than 24 hours ago, and her little thing on College Board still says, in progress. So for those of you that have looked and see something incomplete, if you finished it, send me your certificate. I'm happy to check it. If you've had trouble and you have not confirmed, the email confirmation that helps us assign you to testing toolkit, if that's still blank on the checklist for you, and you brought your computer, stay here for a minute. Allie and I'll show you, like it's that quick, and it'll be good to go. We are here to help. If you have not signed in, there is some staff info that we ask you to provide. It helps us better plan and organize for that day. We appreciate your time. Even starting a little bit late, we didn't even take 30 minutes. Thank y'all for your attention. We also have proctor manuals if you want to look at a paper version.
I like cheerleading like that.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, I don't want to touch it.
What you do is you make them order it first. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't say you had to talk. I said you'll be the non-sexual student. Okay, do I need to do this? Yeah. Well, you, as long as it's, I'm going to close the forum when we leave here because I don't think and they have to remake it, but do I have to? Yeah. Yeah, because you've been in training, and if something happens, I got to flag you in a room. Well, then you can.
So we're not letting you figure out.
Oh, like it's blocked.
Oh, yeah, I'll
Okay.
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Did I get it? Oh, I did.
That's what I always do.
But it doesn't line up.
Yeah, wait on mine. She said I could go back, actually go back and do this. It's what, I mean, I don't know. Did you try it right here?
Okay,
what I mean?
let me see. Never mind, I got it.
I think so, but when I get to this, shouldn't it give me options down here?
But I don't wanna make it as a.
I mean, I've got the certificate of attendance. Yeah, I've done it. I've got the certificate printed out, but when I go here.
Yeah, you got out of here.
Lucky me.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Okay, if I can go, what do I need to do? Just go back and do this?